Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf. Menachos Pei Aleph. We begin right on top. Yosef Rabbi Yitzchak. Bar Shmuel Bar Marta. So he was sitting in front of Kamei the Rav Nachman. V'Yosef v'Kamar, and he was sitting and saying as follows. So this is pretty much a continuation of yesterday. We had a dilemma. We had a story where a fellow had a karban toida. Karban toida is meant to come with bread. The thing is that he made a tmura, which is sort of an exchange, right? So he added another animal to the equation, which will be processed like a toida but without bread. That's the halacha. Only the original, the actual primary needs bread, but not the secondary, the copy, the tmura, the backup, whatever. Nor the vlad, right? The offspring doesn't need the bread. So he had the original with a tmura, and they sort of jumped around and they got mixed up. Doesn't know what's what, who's who, and one suddenly died. There's one left. Is this the original that needs bread? Is it the tmura that comes without bread? He doesn't know. He can't proceed. And we're trying to explore some options for him to solve this issue. Somehow, to allow him to process the karban and attend to the possibility of the bread requirement. So we attempted some ideas yesterday which didn't really pan out. Here comes another idea, followed by another one, till we get to the bottom of the sugya, where we'll understand why he's really stuck, why none of these ideas really worked well. But here's the idea. Let him take v'laisi behema, bring another animal, v'lechem, with another batch of bread. Okay, see, he already has one animal here. Identity unknown. Is this an original? Is it a tmura? Okay, so there's one survivor. Let him add another animal to the mix with another batch of bread. V'leima, he'll get up and declare as follows. He'll make like sort of a condition. Ihach de kaima, if this one, the survivor, is really just a tzmurahi, which does not need bread, okay, no problem. Ha toida v'alachme. Here's my new toida with its bread. Okay, I'm donating another one. Okay. V'ach de kaima toidahi, whereas if the one that survived is really the toida, okay, no problem. Toidahi halachma. Here's the bread. Oh, look, you're missing bread. Here it is. V'ha to have a tmura. And the new animal is just a tmura. It's going to be a tmura of the toida, which a person's not really allowed to make a tmura. But if we're stuck, that's what he'll do. Our Malis Rav Nachman says, Ani Mari, please answer me, my master. Meaning, explain to me how this works. Arboin b'katfei v'kosher. You know that one who makes tmura gets slapped, gets 39 lashes, gets malchus. He calls it 40 because the Torah calls it 40. B'mispar arboin. But anyways, his point is you get malchus v'kosher, and we're going to propose that he does this l'chatchila. It's not a real solution. Okay, Rav Ilah chalash. Rav Ilah passed away. Was unwell, was weak, and he had some visitors that came to be mevakir chayla. Allah Gabe, who came into him? Abaye, Rabbanon. Okay, and they had a Torah discussion. V'yasri ka'amri, and they sat and discussed this topic, and we're trying to explore further possible solutions. Imisa lid Rabbi Yechanan. If we're going to go with Rabbi Yechanan's halacha, the Amor told us back on the Fayin Ches. Chutz l'chemas ha'azara kadosh. If the bread of a toida is to be found outside the wall of the azar, as long as it's within Yerushalayim, it could become sanctified. It gets the kedusha when they process the korban toida. It's not considered too far, right? That was Rabbi Yechanan's opinion, which basically means you don't have to insert the bread into the azara. You can stay outside, safe outside the azara, without any issues of bringing in problematic material. So in this case, great, use that as a solution. Laisi lechem, just deliver a shipment of bread, but leave it outside the azara. You see, yesterday we discussed the option of bringing it in, and the point was, well, you're not meant to bring in bread which perhaps is not really kaddish. Now we're going to work around it because you're going to leave it outside. Laisi lechem v'laisi, leave it outside. Chutz lechem etzazara. V'leima, and get up and declare like this. The surviving animal was really the original toida, which requires bread. Great, here's the bread. Look, it's right outside, waiting for you. Halachma v'loi. If the surviving animal is not the real toida, it's just a tmura and there's no bread required, okay, lepikachulun. We'll have the bread just stay chulun. It's not going to be kaddish. Perfect. Why can't you do that? The answer is like this. Mishum diika arba lahanaf. Remember, you can't leave them outside indefinitely. There is a percentage, 1 of 10, that goes to the kohen, right? So there are 4 types of bread, and of each type, 1 of 10 goes to the kohen. Those 4 have to have tenufa, right? You have to wave them back and forth in the azara. How am I going to process that? Linfo avroish, I do the tenufa outside the azara where they are, just in case they're chulin, I don't want to bring them in. Lifnei Hashem ksiv, the pasuk describing the tenufa relates to Hashem, the shchina, the inside the Beis Hamikdash. Hashem ksiv, I can't do it outside. Well, okay, bring them in. Gavoy kama'il chulin azara. If I bring them in, I'm running into the possibility that I imported mundane material into the azara because perhaps they're not really required, they're not really kaddish. Hilkach le'efshar. That's why this option doesn't really work. Maskefla Rav Shisha b'Dravidi. I have another option. Emisa l'dechizkia. Let's remember Chizkiya's opinion back in the Fayin Chesam Midbeis. The Amor tells us, if one does shchita on a toida with 80 bread instead of 40, 80 breads, kachu arba'im mitach shmoinim. We say, well, he meant really only 40, and 40 out of the 80 are kaddish. The other 40 are considered achrayas. They're just there to back it up, to ensure that nothing, goes missing, and nothing's lost in case they need it. Right. So you can do that, right? If so, laisi behema. Okay, so in our case, bring in another animal with 80 breads. V'laisi shmoinim bad, bring along 80 breads. V'leima, and get up and say like this: If the surviving, animal was a karban toida, hanami to have a toida. Okay, so the additional animal that I'm bringing now should also be a bona fide karban toida v'ashmoinim. Now each one needs 40 breads. Great, I have 80. Perfect. Exactly what you need. V'ashmoinim tavayu, 80 for both of them. He, on the other hand, on the possibility that the surviving animal was not really the toida, it was just a tmura. Okay, hot toida. The new animal now is going to be a toida v'halachma, and here's the bread. 40 out of the 80. And have only 40 out of the 80 become kaddish. Great. And the balance will be achrayas. We're just there to it's there to ensure as a backup. That's fair. What's wrong with this idea? The answer is like this: in reality, it's possible that only 40 are kaddish, right? According to the second, possibility, only 40 are kaddish. Now, how many are taken off 40? How many are given to the kohen? Only 4. But practically, he has to do 8, just in case all 80 are kaddish. In case the 40 is for the first toida and 40 for the second. So he has to separate 80 and give it to the kohen. Now it's possible, but there isn't enough. There aren't enough eaters amongst the kohanim to eat it in time, and they only get to eat, let's say, 4 out of 8. And maybe those 4 that they ate happens not to be kaddish, because really maybe only 40 were kaddish, not 80, and only 4 out of the 40 are kaddish. So out of the 8 that he gave to the kohen, only really 4 are kaddish. And maybe the kohen managed to eat the non-kaddish 4 in the time, and the other 4 are not going to be left over and burnt. So this arrangement might end up triggering causing all kinds of problems, causing real kaddish bread to become nicer and get burnt. So we don't want to run into that possibility. to overload, the kohanim with bread. Okay, what about the next idea? Amrle Rav Ashi Rav Kahanim Isal Rav Yochanan. What if we go with Rav Yochanan? Damar, who tells us like this: Hifresh chatos muberes. A person needed to bring a chatos. Okay, so he set aside an animal which was expecting. V'yolda. And the animal gave birth. Now we have two animals. Which one does he need to use for his chatos? It's up to him. Ratza b'mischaper. If he wants, he can use the mother for kapara. Ratza b'vlada mischaper. He can use the offspring. Why? Because although we learned yesterday that vlad of echatas goes lamisa, that's only in the case where he was mafresh echatas, and then later he became expectant and it gave birth. So that becomes like a reject. It's like a left. But here, since he had designated, he was mafresh, he was magdish, the animal with the uber together at the same time. So we view the vlad within the animal as a separate entity. It's like a person put aside two animals for chatas. So you can choose, you can use whichever one he wants, and the second one you get send it out to get a mum, right? There's no misa here. So that's the rationale behind. That's the basis to Rabbi Yochanan's halach. Let's import that concept to our confusing situation. Okay, so again, we had a real toida with a tmura. They jumped around, got mixed up. One died. We're not sure which one is here, which one survived. Lais behema muberes. Okay, bring along a behema which is muberes. B'magdish it as a carbon toida, and then wait a little bit until the offspring is born. Now you have two to choose from. V'yamtin la'asha telet. V'lais yishmoinim b'hada. Now go to the local bakery, get 80 breads, and bring it along. V'laiman, and get up and say like this. If the original, survivor one was really a tmura, does not need bread. Ha vlada toidahi. Ha uvlada toidi. So okay, I'm bringing two more toida, the mother and the offspring. Toidahi v'ashmoinim, and here are the 80 breads for both of them. Great, the tavayu for both. If the original survivor was really the toida, hanami toidahi. Okay, so the new animal that I'm bringing is a toida. V'ashmoinim the tavayu, and the 80 breads are for both of these, 40 for the original one and 40 for the new one. V'hai, and the offspring, I'm not going to use it as a toida. V'hai lihavi moisa the toida. It's a moisa, it's a leftover. And we know that leftovers don't need bread. Great, perfect solution. So you makrav all three with its required breads. Amalei, so Rav Kahana responded, it's not going to work. You're assuming that Rabbi Yochanan holds that a vlad, in this case, is considered a separate entity, and in our case, it's like a brand new toida, which can have its own bread. No. Man leimalan da'amar Rabbi Yochanan, im shiroi, who's to say that Rabbi Yochanan holds that the vlad within the mother, the unborn fetus, is considered so separate of an entity that, in fact, if you decide to leave it out of the equation, imagine you take a mother animal, which is muberes, and say, well, I only want the mother animal to be my carbon, not the uber. I want that to be, a different carbon. Who says you can do that? Which would indicate that it's totally separate and not linked to the mother. Imshira, if you left it out, if you separate mishira, it's left out of the equation. And likewise over here, by the toida situation, he has a right to actually designate the mother as one type of toida, the child as a separate toida, and each one would theoretically require bread. Is that true, Dilma? Perhaps no. Imshiroi any mishur. Theoretically, if you would leave out the uber, considered separate from the mother's kedusha, you can't do that. You can't make the mother a chatas on the offspring, the unborn offspring, and an oila. You can't do that. Which would indicate that it's a separate. No. The reason why Rabbi Yochanan says that one can use the vlad of his chatas for kapara, the amar adam ischaper b'shvach hegdish, he holds simply that a person can use something which came about under hegdish's ownership, some sort of addition, some sort of shvach, like the offspring that was born from the behema of hegdish. use it for his own kapara. It can relate back to the original owner who was magdish that animal. But it's still sort of an extension of the mother. It's not a separate entity. So likewise, when it comes to the karban toida, even if he should find a behema muberes, an expected behema, and make the mother a toida and wait for the child to be born and make that a toida, it's not a separate, independent, like they aren't both considered primary toida which require bread. No, the offspring is a vlad. And a vlad does not need bread. It's sort of a leftover. It's a carryover of the mother. So our solution won't really work. Here comes one more attempt at solving this dilemma. Ravina, he visited the town of Iklid Mahayriya. Okay, Amar Lei Rav Dimi Brei. Rav Huna. Mid Mahayriya, there was a tzaddik, the name of Rav Dimi, the son of Rav Huna from this town, and he turned to the guest of Ravina. He says, you know what? I heard of this big question with the confused owner of the toida. Well, I say behema. I have an idea. Take a behema, a new one, and get up and say Harei Alai. I am committing to bringing a toida. Okay. Now, in that case, when it's a personal obligation, you're allowed to appoint a backup as well to ensure that you're fulfilling, that you'll ultimately be successful in case one gets missing, one gets lost, right? To bring another animal as well, so it's a third animal. Well, okay, to use it as a, bring along 80 breads together with it. And get up and say, if the surviving of the original was only the tmura, so I just brought 2 toides, and I brought 80 for both. If the original one, the survival one, was really the toida which needs bread, okay, amri, so the animal which I appointed as my Harei Alai toida, that should be a real toida. And the 80 that I brought is to address the original survivor and the new one that I just added. And the third animal is only a backup, just in case, and doesn't need bread. Doesn't that solve the whole issue? Amar Lei, so he says it's not going to work because technically you're right, but it is never recommended. Torah dissuades a person, pasuk kahelas, dissuades a person from committing to personal obligations, even when it comes to karbanis. You might not carry out your keep your word, and you might forget. Torah warns and says, better that you do not promise and pledge misha tidar, rather than pledging and risking not paying up your pledge. So going ahead and saying Harei Alai toida is not recommended. Va'at amras, and you're suggesting leikum velindar, but a person should get up and offer a personal obligation, a personal commitment. We don't recommend it. We discourage it, and therefore, better be stuck and than proceed in this manner. Okay, so again we had a story. A toida with a tmura got mixed up. One died. We're not sure which one. What's the difference? Well, toida needs bread. Tmura does not need bread. We're sort of stuck without any way out. So there's no way to process it. You have to let it get a mum and redeem it, etc. So a toida is the animal with the bread. How is it funded? Do I have to use my regular money, or could I use Maser Sheni money? Right? So a person as a farmer, he set aside a certain percentage as Maser Sheni. He's too far from Yerushalayim. He transfers the kedusha onto money, which is meant to be taken up to Yerushalayim, used for the purchasing of food. Can he now use that money to make his toida, which also will be consumed in Yerushalayim? Ha'emer Harei toida, a person commits to a toida, yavihi v'lachma min achulin. So since it's an obligation, it's a chayva, he committed to doing this, he has to fund it from chulin, from regular money. You can't use Maser Sheni. Maser Sheni can only be used for foodstuffs that are not chayva, but if he has to, he's obligated to do this, you can only fulfill your obligation by using ordinary funds. That's in a regular case. Toida alai min achulin. What if he gets up and says, I am bringing a toida from chulin v'lachma min ha'maser, but I'm only willing to bring the bread from Maser Sheni money? What's the halacha? he can't do that. He's committed already. Yavihi, he has to bring the actual toida, v'lachma, and it's bread min achulin, from chulin. Because, look, once he committed to the toida, he has to bring bread. It's an automatic trigger. So he's chayv to bring bread, again, has to be funded from chulin, because it's a chayva. But, let's say he says, toida min ha-maser. I'm only going to bring a toida if I can bring it from maser money. V'lachma min achulin. The bread I'm okay from chulin. Yavi. So he brings it as he promised. He v'lach min ha-maser. I'm going to bring the toida and the bread from maser. Yavi, then he could, because he's not committing to a regular obligation. He's only committing in as much as he can use maser sheni money. But the Mishnah concludes there is a limitation here in terms of what type of maser he can use. Lo yavi michiti maser sheni, he can use. But lo yavi michiti maser, you can't use actual grain, original maser sheni grain, to make the bread. Elo mois maser sheni, you can use maser sheni money, as we explained. Why? The Gemara will go through the reasoning for this. Amar Rav Huna. Here comes a new halach. Ha'ema harayt lachmi toida. He gets up and says, I am committing to bring breads of a toida, without even referencing the toida himself, just breads. Does he have to bring a toida? Maybe toida v'lachma, yeah. He needs to bring a toida with its bread. Why? He only promised bread. My time, but why? Meida yadai gavra. The lechem v'loy toida lo yikram. He knows that you can't bring bread without the toida itself. And that's what he meant. He meant it was just a short way. It was in short form. V'ai toida v'lachma kama. Really, he intended on saying the toida and the bread. He just, caught on to the last part of the sentence. Although he referred to just the bread, Seif Milsanakat, he was just referring to the second part of the package. He was speaking in short form. But really he meant to say the toida and the bread. Tanan, we have a Mishnah, which seems to be inconsistent with this halacha. It's a kasha, because look, it says toida min ha-maser v'lach min ha-chulin. I promised to bring the toida from maser and the bread from chulin. What does the Mishnah say? Yeah, I can do that. Yavi k'mashanadar, I can bring exactly as I promised. So the animal can be purchased from maser sheni money. Why? V'amai, why are you allowing that? According to Rav Huna, Kivan the Amar lach min ha-chulin, once he promised to bring the bread using chulin money, that should commit him to bring the animal as well, because when you speak about bread, it really covers everything. Yavi v'lach min ha-chulin, he should be chayav to bring even the animal from chulin. Now, although he mentioned clearly toida min ha-maser, Farshim explained that it sounds like he changed his mind. Now he's referring to the whole package as chulin. So he has to bring the whole thing from chulin. Again, although he only said bread, he meant everything. Shani Hasam, no, says the Gemara, exactly this point is very different, because he clearly expressed that the toida is maser. So it's not ambiguous, it's not left up in the air. Shani Hasam, the Kivan, the Amar, toida min ha-maser, once he articulated that toida is maser, so that's all he's committing to. And although he continued and said, well, the bread will be chulin, it's not to be understood as though he's switching his whole commitment and committing to bring the toida from chulin as well. No, he's committing to supply bread for the maser sheni toida. It's like almost he's committing to donate, to sponsor another person's bread. Nasa kaim, it's like he says, Harei lechem, I'm committing to bread. Lifter toidasa shalplain, to exempt, to accommodate. I'm sponsoring somebody else's korban toida. So first I'm committing to a toida for maser. Okay, that's set up. Now I'm going to sponsor that bread from a chulin money. If that's the way you understand his words. What about Reisha, the first part, where it says, the Tani, the Mishnah says, toida min ha-chulin v'lach min ha-maser. I'm committing to a toida from chulin, and the bread will be from maser. Says the Mishnah, can I do that? No. Because once I committed to a toida from chulin, I have to bring the whole package from chulin. Yavi hi v'lach min ha-chulin, I have to bring the bread and the animal and the bread from chulin. Why? Because once I promise an animal from chulin, it includes the bread as well. Why? What do you mean? Hachanami. Here too I can say, well, I never meant more than I said. I'll bring chulin for my toida, but this toida will be used to sponsor somebody else's bread. It will be sort of a completion for the bread, which will be for master, which I'm going to promise in a minute. Over here too, it could be learned as though he's saying, I'm committing to a personal toida and sponsor it from chulin money. Lifter, lachmashal plain, to exempt, to accommodate, to shore up somebody else's bread. Why can't I do that? Instead of somebody else's, it's actually my bread, but it's Maser Sheni bread. So I'm only committing to toida from my own money to be used for the Maser Sheni bread. Why can't I do that? Achiyashta says, well, it doesn't work. You could sponsor somebody's bread, you can't sponsor somebody's behema. Because the behema is the primary element in this whole package. Achiyashta, how could you compare? Bishleima, certainly, lechem lemifta toida ka'asi. You can bring bread to be paid to somebody else's toida. Because the main element is the toida. So once the toida is already standing, it's already committed to, I can offer my services, I can sponsor his bread. So if let's say the toida is coming from master, I can say, I'm not promising a new packet, I'm just going to add bread to the existing, to the master toida. But toida lemifta lachem yasi, how could you commit a toida for somebody else's bread? Can't do that. So in this case, where I promised to bring toida min hachulin, I can't say I'm just using it to fix up the lechem that I'm going to bring min ha'maaser. You can't use the animal to fix up the bread, to shore up the bread, because the animal is the primary. That sets the tone. That sets the standard. That sets the rules. So once I committed to a toida from chulin, I got to find bread which matches the toida. And since the toida is chulin, part of the toida package is bread, which is also going to be chulin. So basically, when I say toida ben chulin, I'm really committing myself to the full package, which includes both elements, the toida and the bread. Both have to be chulin. Tashma, here comes another kasha of Huna, who told us that sometimes, even if you just say, I'm bringing bread, you got to bring the whole thing, because bread is the tail end of the package, which really it's a way of referring to the whole package. Tashma, like, toida b'le lechem. He gets up and says, I'm bringing a toida without bread. Or, v'zevach, I'm going to bring a carbon, b'le nesachim, without the wines that come along. Can he do that? No. Kaif and Ois will be force him to bring the whole package as required. Kaif and Ois, maybe toida v'lachma is to bring the toida with the bread, zevach nesachim, the carbon with its accompanying nesachim. Says the Gemara, let's infer, let's make a diak. Taima damar. Apparently, it's only because he said, I'm going to bring a toida, that you forced him to bring everything. If he didn't say anything about the toida, he just said, I'm bringing bread. You wouldn't apply this rule. Apparently, even saying bread, apparently when you say just bread, it isn't automatically understood that you are committing to the whole thing. Says the Gemara, no, actually the same exact rule would apply even without saying toida. So even if he just says, I'm bringing bread, it also triggers the whole package, like Rav Huna told us. So why didn't the Brisa discuss this case? And since the Tana and the Brisa wanted to get to the next case, where he commits to a carbon without nesachim, that he has to bring both, and in that type of case, you can't really reverse it. In that case, you can't switch the scenario. What if he says, I'm bringing nesachim without the carbon? Does he have to bring the carbon? No. In that case, you can't say that. Why? Because you can bring nesachim, you can bring wine, you can donate wine. Wine can be a standard, a standalone independent carbon. So maybe that's what he had in mind, to bring wine. So in that type of matchup, that type of case, it wouldn't work to obligate him if he only said nesachim. Tananami toida. So that's why even though by the toida and the bread it would work in the reverse, according to Rav Huna, even mentioning bread commits him to the whole thing. But he wanted to be consistent. The Brisa wanted to just state both cases consistently. That's why by the Toida case as well, just sort of refer to the first sequence and not in reverse. But really in reverse, perhaps he would have to bring the whole thing as well, as per Rav Huna. Now let's just refer back to this price. I'm bringing a Toida without bread. I'm bringing a Zavach without Nesach. Says the Brisa, you can't. You got to bring the whole thing. Why? Why? Why does he have to bring more than he promised to? Neder, sure, he made a neder, he vowed. But it's like there's a sort of a clause, like a disclaimer, together with a neder. Right? I'm undoing my commitment because as soon as I said I'm bringing, I already said I'm not bringing the bread. It means to say I'm backing away. He's regretting the whole thing. Right? Apparently, he didn't really want to commit to this. So how could you force him to proceed? Amar Chizkiya, Hamani B'Shami. This price is going like B'Shami, who says that when there are conflicting expressions in terms of vowing, Tfaiz Lashon Rishon, we adopt the first part of what he said. He said he's bringing a Toida, boom, you're in. And you can't just change your mind. That's not. We find this in a Mishnah Maseches Nazir. When it comes to these commitments of Hegdish and all these things, Snan Haredi Nazim and Agregris. A fellow declares that he's a Nazir, which typically means keeping away from wine, grapes, right? But he doesn't. Haredi Nazim and Agregris, instead of referring to grapes, he says, I'm going to keep away from, I'm a Nazir from dried figs, I'm a Tvela, from pressed figs. What happens? He started by saying Nazir, but then he sort of colored it in a very funny color. B'Sham Ayrim Nazir, he's still a Nazir, because as soon as he says already Nazir, he's in. He's committed to the standard Nazir system. We ignore the retraction. Ubesilaim any Nazir? No, he retracted. Sure, he says I'm a Nazir, but he explained, not a regular Nazir. I'm just going to keep away from figs. Okay, so according to Bisham, we say Tfais Lashon Rishon, we adapt the first part of the expression, and likewise over here, I'm bringing a Toida, you're in, despite his retraction. Rabbi Yechon Amar, Afilatim B'Silal, the Allah and the Brisa, which commits him to the full Toida package, can be following even B'Silal's Shita. Because we're not speaking about a fellow who's trying to retract or cancel his commitment. He's not pulling back. We're talking that he explained, and he says, had I known that you can't commit to this type of package, a Toida without bread, you know what? I would not have done it. I wouldn't have done it. I would have done it properly, a Toida with bread. I wouldn't have done it this way, in a funny way. I would have done it in the regular way. So we don't interpret it as a retraction, as a regret, and therefore he has to bring it. But so why does the Brisa say we force him? I mean, if he's doing it willingly, umay kaifin. The Kavoi Hadabai, now he's changing his mind, and he's sort of arguing his way out. No, 1 second. You just told us that you had it in mind. No playing games. You have to bring it. Tashma. Here comes another raya to this discussion. So again, we had a brisa. He committed to bread without. He committed to a Toida without bread. We forced him to go through and bring the whole thing. Chizki explained, although he's retracting, well, it's like Beishama, retraction doesn't help. Rabbi Yechanan, he clarified that he really meant to do it properly. Tashma, here comes another brisa, and right to Chizki's approach, that's going like Beishama, we ignore retraction. So Aymer Alei, Toida v'loy lechem. He gets up, I'm bringing a Toida without bread. V'zavach le'en esachem, Amaloi, and we turn to him, he says, hold it. Havei Toida v'lachma. V'zavach le'en esachem, you can't do that, you have to bring the whole package. V'aymer, and he responds, well, ilu yisei desha came. Lo yisei noider. Had I known that you're going to force me to bring the whole, I can't afford, I wouldn't have done it. What happens now? So we force him to proceed. V'aymer, we tell him, shmar v'shamata. It's a pasuk in Dvarim. Shmar v'shamata, hes kol advarim ha'ela sh'anechem tzavecha. You got to follow through on your commitment. Now, Bishlam el-Chizkiya nichale. This fits more with, apparently, it fits more with Chizkiah's approach. That although he's trying to retract, he meant to retract. Well, you force him to stick with his original statement. Nicholas, that works. El Rabbi Yochanan Kasha, according to Rabbi Yochanan's approach, that it was going like Hillel. He never meant to retract. He meant to do it properly. Now he's deciding to change. Well, in this price, he clearly is articulating that his initial intention was not to bring more than what he said. He didn't want to bring more than just a Torah. So why are you forcing him to proceed with the entire package? Rabbi says you're right. This price is certainly going to be B'Shamai. But the earlier price doesn't have to be. Now, what does this mean, Shmor v'Shamata? What's this message we're telling you? My Shmor v'Shamata. Amar Abaye, Shmor, that means Havei Toida, bring the bread, bring the Toida that you promised. Look, you said a Toida, bring it. And what about the bread? V'Shamata, Havei Lachma. Shamata means listen closely and bring the bread. I mean, even though you didn't say it, but we are telling you to do so. V'Shamata, listen to our instruction. Mitzvah l'shmoya divrei chachamim. Rav Amar, he explains, Shmar means havei toida v'lachma. Shmar means follow through with your commitment, bread and the toida. V'Shamata means listen very closely. This is not the way you should be doing this. Next time, speak clearly. Don't get yourself into all kinds of confusion. V'Shamata means Shaloi tei rogel. Don't be accustomed, lasas kain, to do this unusually articulated neder. Okay, we'll pick it up tomorrow with Hashem. So we had a Mishnah where we learned that the davar shebachayva, an obligatory pledge, has to be financed with chulin money, unless he clearly articulated otherwise, in which case he's only promising to bring a limited thing, which is from Meiser. We learned that the lechem is sort of secondary to the toida, and once he promises the toida ben achulin, he has to bring the bread ben achulin as well. Rav Huna teaches us by simply committing to bread really covers the toida as well. Got a couple of kashas on that. Then we had an interesting story here where a fellow spoke about just toida without bread. Brisa says he has to bring everything. We had several ways to explain it, according to Beishamai and according to Beisil. Okay, all the best to you, and Atzlacha Rab.